Remember when I said you should not learn new technology unless it is useful? Well, here is some new technology called JSON. JSON is an abbreviation for JavaScript Object Notation. JavaScript Object Notation. And it's simply a type of text file containing data for JavaScript to parse. Now, JSON is similar and, in my opinion, inferior to an XML file being parsed by other languages like PHP. I don't really recommend using JSON for anything, but it's very hip and cool and trendy, so I figured I'd share how it works. Then you can understand why it's a bad idea to use JSON. JSON. Yo, JSON! JSON, what's up? So let me show you two examples of parsing data. One will use JSON, one will use XML. Now, these are actually a code test that I did for Guitar Center when I was job hunting in the fall of 2018. Now, the assignment was to use JSON, but I decided to use both JSON and XML just to show them the advantages of the XML approach. I think the easiest way to illustrate the difference between the JSON version of building out data on the page and the XML version is to just show you both at the same time. So if we come in here and we actually view the sample pages, so this first one, we're going to open that in a new link, and then we'll take a look at the second one in a new link. So the second one is the XML version. So if we look in here, this is the page that I was asked to create for Guitar Center, okay? And this tab right here, New Arrivals, this data is coming from JSON, okay? And then if we look in here and look at New Arrivals, this is coming from XML. And if we switch back and forth between these tabs, we can see these pages are exactly the same. There's a little bit of extra space down there on one of them, but other than that, they're identical, okay? So let's take a look at the source code for each of these pages, okay? So first, let's look at the JSON page. We'll go to View Source, and if we scroll down here, right here is all of the code that is writing out this part of the web page, okay? And as you can see, it's just kind of this complicated gobbledygook function of JavaScript, and it's printing things to the page, and it's just kind of complex, okay? So let's come over here and look at the XML version. View the page source, we scroll down, and there we go. Really simple. It's just HTML. It's just the div tags, okay? This is far better because that means that this kind of data can get indexed in search engines. This kind of stuff can't, okay? So let's take a look at how it's actually built. So if we look at the code in a text editor, we can see here, again, it's pretty complicated. You're calling in a lot of different functions and variables. You have to call an external jQuery file, right? There's a lot of stuff you got to do to get JSON to work. And then here is the actual JSON file. That's not too complicated. You can see it's calling the image and a title and a description and the URL. Okay, you know, that's not too bad. But now let's look at XML. The XML source file, again, not very complicated, right? The XML and the JSON are pretty comparable to one another. In fact, I do think XML is even a little bit easier to understand because you have open and close tags sort of encapsulating the data that you're using. But still, they're pretty close. But now look at the PHP. Look at how much more simplistic this is compared to all of this, okay? The PHP is far easier to write, it's far easier to code, and when it's actually getting rendered to the page, it's much neater, and it's actually useful as SEO value. So these are the reasons why I don't really recommend using JSON and JavaScript for this kind of stuff. It's very trendy, it's very popular, and it's also a very, very bad idea. From studying those two examples, can you spot the problems? The XML example parses data from a file and writes actual HTML code. So when you view the source code, all the data is there. The JSON example parses the data from a file and uses JavaScript to print the results in the DOM. So when you view the source code, no data is there. Now I know I have cited these concepts before, but it's important to understand because JavaScript has become so trendy and is so often utilized poorly. People really need to be educated on this. I'm a big fan of JavaScript. I'm not against using it. I actually use it on almost every website I build. There are times when JavaScript offers the best, simplest solution to technological problems. But using it for everything is a mistake. And you don't want to create mistaken projects of little value. Because remember, kids, the world owes you nothing until you create things of value.